Evangelion has been the artistic pinnacle of existential anime and mecha anime for decades now. Myself, like many fans, however, did not enjoy the existential ending of Neon Genesis Evangelion, released more than 25 years ago now. The last 2 episodes of that series were viewed by many fans to be a betrayal, as the episode's metaphysical approach to narrative resolution did not end the plotline in a traditional manner and instead left these resolutions to viewer interpretations. The critical reception of these episodes were wholly negative as well. The creator, Hideki Anno, did not apologize, nor did he attempt to adjust any of what was released. That was until 2007, when the rebuild of Evangelion was released. This was set to be theatrical releases for Evangelion, which would retell the past story and right the wrongs of the original 26-episode anime. That's what we thought anyway. In 2021, the final Evangelion rebuild anime was released. As I watched it, something became apparent to me. This series was never a reboot. It was instead a sequel. It was not a retelling but a continuation. Hideki Anno was not apologizing for the ending he made 25 years ago, but he was instead doubling down and justifying it. Hello everyone, welcome to Aniprop. Let's get into it. Throughout the entire rebuild series, there has been evidence acknowledging previous events in earlier Evangelion releases as canon. The inexplicable bloodstain on the moon shown in the rebuild series. This was caused by Lilith in the end of Evangelion movie released in 1997. 10 years before the release of the rebuild series. The other large indicator to the acknowledgement of previous events is the character Kaworu, who plainly states that he has met Shinji before. This could only be possible if he had done this in the previous timeline. We also see when Kaworu passes away, he wakes up in a realm beyond the living in a coffin that is in a long line of many others, suggesting that he has woken up here many times before. Before the final mission, Kaworu also indicates slight changes in Shinji's character, but given his screen time, he would not have been able to know Shinji that well, unless of course he remembered him from all the previous lives lived. When Shinji goes into the anti-universe to confront his father, we actually get to see scenes from the 1995 anime, showing us that we are within the same theatrical universe. Hideki Anno himself stated that Evangelion is a story that repeats itself, way back in 2007. Because there was little evidence to support this before, I don't believe fans considered that statement to be literal. But we are now seeing with the 4th rebuild film, Thrice Upon a Time, that this was meant quite literally. This preamble brings us to talk about the last Evangelion film, Thrice Upon a Time. This is effectively the end of the loop, and as stated before, not a reboot but instead a conclusion to the entire Evangelion story, inclusive of the 1995 anime and its movies. In the original anime, the doomed episodes 25 and 26 were essentially the end of reality, as the emotionally hurting Shinji chose to damn the entire planet to die rather than continue existence. In Thrice Upon a Time, Shinji is given the exact same decision, but in this loop, he has developed as a character, and in the 25 years since the first loop, possibly through continuous iterations and slightly changed factors, Shinji chooses to help his friends and save humanity. He does the opposite of what he did 25 years prior. Just like with the original finale, we see the symbolic dismantlement of the universe, with the art going from fluid animation to keyframe sketches to storyboard, still frames. But this time, it is rebuilt anew instead of going to nothingness. Thrice Upon a Time also has some big reveals which recontextualize the entire Evangelion series. The first of these is that Asuka is revealed to be a clone just like Rei. This makes sense as the show itself indicates that the probability of having a high sync rate with the Evo is low, so it does not surprise me that any of the pilots are somewhat synthetic. I believe we can apply this fact to the original anime. Looking from this perspective recontextualizes many of Asuka's actions. What stands out to me most is in Thrice Upon a Time, Asuka indicates to Rei that the only reason she cares so deeply for Shinji is because she is programmed to do so. But then that clearly means that Asuka herself would most likely be programmed in the same way. I found it interesting that in the Rebuild films, Asuka's surname was changed from Soryu to Shikanami. This serves a dual purpose. It aligns the naming convention for all three Evo pilots as they are named after Japanese Ayanami class nautical destroyers. But it also serves to indicate that this Asuka clone is not the same one from the 1995 anime. Fans even point out differences in her personality, such as the fact that Asuka Soryu hated dolls, but Asuka Shikinami relies on one for comfort. Another point which affects the entire franchise is the definition of the title itself. Shinji tells Rei, in the anti-universe, that he will create a world with no Evos. He calls this a Neon Genesis, finally giving meaning to the title of the original anime after 25 years, and telling us what the show is really about. The anime was always about this moment of growth. In the same statement referenced earlier, Hideki Anno says that Evangelion, it is a story where the main character witnesses many horrors with his own eyes, but still tries to stand up again. The last and most critical thing the story adds to divert from the original narrative and recontextualize everything is Mari. This character is the only major character that was added to the Rebuild series but was not in the original. She is the variable which justifies the story ending differently. Hideki Anno inserted her into the story and used her effectively as an agent of change for the Evangelion plot. We can assume that based on the naming convention for the Evo pilots, Mari is a clone just like the other two girls. Mari is shown in flashbacks to have been a friend of Gendo and Yue. She acts as the source of the Rei clones. These are Shinji's parents. Mari is even credited in some places as being the one who introduced the tool. The research that Gendo did with Nerve, resulting in the impacts, was as a result of Gendo's grief after the death of Yue. Gendo abandoned Shinji and researched the Human Instrumentality Project to take away his pain. Shinji grew up emotionally damaged, partly because of a lack of attention from his grieving father. What this means is that this inexplicable character that fans say came out of nowhere is possibly the greatest influencer for the events spanning multiple Evangelion plotlines, as well as Shinji's decision to destroy the universe in the original anime. It seems appropriate then that in Thrice Upon a Time, as the anti-universe is disassembling after Shinji recreates the world, Mari lands on the metaphysical beach to save him. This is the same beach we saw Shinji on 25 years ago, at the end of Evangelion. Mari takes Shinji into the new world he created, and they escape together. Fittingly, the series ends in live action with Shinji and Mari in the rebuilt world with no Evos, and all of Shinji's friends alive and well as adults. Evangelion has a lot of content to cover. If you want more explainer videos from this series, let me know in the comments. But for now, thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and see you next time.